We have a big issue with the fires in our area, which is Overcome Heights. The 26th of January, we had a fire surrounding our house. We were so frightened that day that our house was also going to burn down. Now currently we don't have electricity and we need to use candles and stuff. You're going to blow it out because you're afraid. What if you fall asleep with the candle still burning?
The last fire we had, big one, was, they say 20 households, but in actual fact it's about 100 shacks that went up in flames, and in a blink of an eye everything people lost. They built up for 5 to 10 years, 5-10 minutes, it's all gone.
We're living in a place that we're not happy because there's a lot of water. They damage our houses.
Xa kusebusika siye sibe sengxakini singenelwa ngamanzi ezindlini.
If you are walking through the streets in Sutton Farm, you are walking on top of water because we built on top of the dam. We have to stay there because we've got nowhere to go.
If you turn open your tap and you find out that there is no water the morning you come up, it's frightening. How are we going to drink? How are we going to make food? You have to wash, flushing toilets even.
It was like a disaster because we had to go buy water, stand in long queues.
Everyone don't have money to go buy water. So I think that is where the real struggle actually came in.
Marginalised communities in Cape Town's Cape Flats face a range of well-documented social and economic challenges, which are only made worse by the environmental impacts of climate change. While some government authorities recognise the immediate strategic need to strengthen resilience in the face of extreme environmental events, disaster risk reduction remains a complex challenge that requires multiple government departments to work together.
Very often people are sitting in offices, they don't understand exactly what it's like on the ground. So they come up with solutions which are not possibly practical, or they're not taking into consideration the situation that people are currently living in.
Often administrations come with a set of rules, this is how we do it, and it often don't work because communities hasn't been involved.
For me, from the outside, I can say, yes, but you must do A, B, and C. But I'm not living in a shack. I'm not the one that have to face the fear of living. When is the next fire going to break out? So the people that needs to answer is the community who deals and live with it on a daily basis.
Whether we're talking drought, fire, flood, I think they're very significant, especially because the city's population is growing, informality is growing, and we need to think about sort of creative ways of mitigating these risks.
The interdisciplinary research project called Water and Fire aimed to mobilise local knowledge on the 3 environmental hazards of water shortages, localised flooding and runaway fires in the township community of Delft and the informal settlements known as Sweet Home Farm and Overcome Heights. Informal settlements, which are growing rapidly in Cape Town, both in number and in size, present a pivotal challenge for disaster risk management strategies.
There are challenges that we face as young kids. And for me to pretend as if there's nothing I can do, that's wrong.
Our research team was committed to applying a democratic approach to community-engaged research. Using a variety of participatory visual methods, we worked with local residents as co-researchers to explore their lived experiences of environmental challenges and their ideas for interventions to mitigate and overcome them. The project was purposely designed so that each research method led to and informed the next. The research process began with introductory meetings held in the 3 participating communities, which were followed by a household survey. We then embarked on the visual methods of digital storytelling, community mapping, and photo voice. Research materials created through the visual methods were analysed with the co-researchers in participatory workshops. The analysis process drew out potential interventions to address environmental hazards, and these interventions were presented to community members and other key stakeholders at engagement events held in the 3 research settings. The process was guided by a critical approach to interrogate what is missing, what works, and what doesn't in relation to local resilience strategies and techniques. All activities throughout the process included translation support so the co-researchers could communicate in the language they felt most comfortable with. An introductory meeting was facilitated in each research setting. These meetings revealed community perspectives on the target environmental hazards of water shortage, localized floods, and runaway fires. Community advisory board members were identified in each community and joined the research team to support the household surveys. Led by local field research teams trained by the Sustainable Livelihoods Foundation, or SLF, 600 household surveys were conducted in total. This equated to around 200 surveys per research site. The surveys were conducted in participants' home languages by teams diverse in racial profile and gender. The survey questionnaires covered participants' demographics, their experiences of the environmental hazards, and any measure they had put in place to address them. As the next step, the 3 co-researcher groups participated in digital storytelling. A digital story is a powerful first-hand account of a lived experience that revolves around a key moment in time. Through the digital storytelling process, the participants articulated their individual stories in relation to fire, flooding, or water shortage and created images to accompany their spoken narratives. They then used digital tools to draw their story and its images together into a short 3 to 4 minute film.
Digital stories disebenze kuzo apho sibalisa ngendlela izikhukhula ezasichaphazela ngayo.
We started out by writing our story out. Then what we did afterwards was we drew pictures. So we would have our voices recorded telling the story, and then the pictures would like a slideshow. What you felt for that particular moment, you could express yourself in the drawings. And I've learned a lot about the other stories that I also saw and what I could implement of lessons learned.
Next, the SLF team worked with 16 local residents in each site on community walkabouts to observe, discuss and map the physical and spatial aspects of the environmental hazard in and around their communities. From blocked drains to the footprint of recent fires to overburdened infrastructure, the researchers experienced the geography of the development challenge. Each co-researcher then drew their own map of the community, highlighting elements that either exacerbated the challenge or potentially reduced its impacts for residents. A series of maps and collectively developed spatial products, including aerial photos with explanatory markings, were produced.
Sihambe indawo ezininzi kulapho ndiye ndabona khona zininzi indawo ezichaphazeleka flooding eSweetom Farm.
We were in the community, walking around, showing exactly where we saw that fires happen, explaining what we would do if something like that happened in a place like that, and what also is needed so that that doesn't happen again.
There's a lot of public places on my map, like the police station, where people is used to going to for help and stuff. And due to the water shortage, the police station was also closed.
The SLF team then worked with at least 8 co-researchers in a photo voice inquiry. After some camera training, co-researchers took pictures in the communities to show the way they see climate disaster-related challenges and solutions. All photo voice images were shared in a workshop where the co-researchers added titles and captions to their photos. Some of the images were democratically selected to feature in an album that best captured the associated environmental hazard.
We're taking the pictures, the drain blockage, the lower level of the houses.
We then were also taking pictures of what is basically needed before a fire is started. So in order to prevent the fire, what support is there during a fire, and what support is not there during a fire. So we took pictures of that.
The SLF team then facilitated a series of 10-day analysis workshops during which each of the co-research groups collectively reviewed and unpacked their digital stories, community maps, and photo voice images. Through this process, the co-researchers formulated a priority list of potential interventions or best bets to counteract the 3 environmental hazards they had been examining.
You've got pink cards and you've got yellow cards. On the pink cards, I want you to look at your maps and think about what is something that your map says that makes the problem worse. And then I want you to take 2 yellow cards and I want you to say what are the things that make the problem less bad. For more distance between people's shacks. We have 4 votes for community awareness and working together, like education and working together as a community. And we have 4 votes for fixing the drains. So if we look at democracy, it looks like we need one of the things that makes the situation less bad is about making the drainage system work better. And one of the other things that makes the situation less bad is about people learning about not throwing food and the community working together in educating each other about this problem. Does that make sense?
During the analysis workshops, SLF supported the co-researchers in collectively deciding which research materials to share at engagement events. These events were to be attended by community members and other stakeholders. Decision-making also included democratically choosing who should present the research materials at the events and articulating the key messages the co-researchers wanted to get across. After these decisions had been made, the SLF team and organizational partners assisted the co-research groups in rehearsing and preparing for their presentations.
If you can take your time and check exactly that community mapping, and you listen to those stories and you check those photos, you will have a good idea of what Soto Home Farm is. Because it's done by people who knows exactly what is going on in Soto Home Farm.
The digital storytelling and the land mapping that we now did, even the photo voice stories and that, has a big role in bringing the message across to the decision makers in a positive way so that they can also see this is what the people of Overcome is suffering with and this is what we think we can do to bring about change.
Burn, fire, 1, 2, 3.
Finally, we came to the community and stakeholder engagement events. These interactive gatherings were held in the vicinity of the research sites and hosted by the local co-researchers. The events brought together a range of stakeholders, including community members, local leadership, local authorities, municipal officials, civil society representatives, academia, and others. The aim of the event was to co-produce knowledge and carry the research findings into policy and practice.
So we've been working very closely with this core research group over the past 2 years to generate the research materials that you're going to see and hear about today.
What I've experienced here is enlightening. Listening to the whole video with the woman's experience that they presented through pictures, it's giving us real data on the ground.
Always interesting to hear people's personal stories. You know, we tend to look at it sometimes as this problem, but we don't go in and have a look and see how it affects individual people. We think the structure's up, everything's sorted, but that person has lost absolutely everything in their life, and it's just devastating.
Here today I heard testimonies of lived experiences. What it means to go 1 day without water. What does that mean for a chronically ill grandmother who needs to take medication? That's life-threatening. To hear that, it shifts the narrative. You start seeing that provision of water is indeed a human right to life.
What stood out for me was how confident community members are about themselves and the fact that they can play a role in providing solutions for their problems.
It's actually something that I can feel proud of, opening the eyes of people that were unaware of what is happening in the community.
Indenza ndizive ndibalulekile kule nto le because ndineso isandla ezameni ukunceda nokuhlangabezana nendlela esiphila ngayo eSweet Home Farm.
It prepares me for future. When that drought comes or water loss or shortages or whatever happens, then I know how to handle this.
I've learned a lot so that I can go back to my community and also teach them.
There's such a lot of energy at these sessions and a group of people who want to positively affect society, and I think that that's amazing and wonderful. And it's also just given me a sense of hope.
What has been done in this community is incredible. I would love to be part of it as far as I can so that we can action these plans that these people have put together and make sure that we are on par with their safety.
Transformative adaptation strategies such as this participatory and democratic process have the potential to complement existing municipal plans by inclusively broadening the approach to disaster risk management. The implementation of these strategies that are informed by the knowledge and experience of those most at risk of environmental disasters will be imperative to counteract the impacts of climate change in marginalized settings.
We want to do more, and I think it's just for the community to understand the city's challenges so that there can be a dialogue between us so that you can have better services, quicker response time.
They also need to come to the ground and educate us, and we also to educate them also. It works both ways. We can help each other.
Once you have a party in any negotiation table who's prepared to say, I'm not blaming and I'm not playing that game. So a person who can also see the problem but still identify the solution, if that is the attitude where they see the city as a working partner, one they can trust, that could go a long way.
If we're thinking about climate change and thinking about how we all play a part in it and including everyone in that conversation, I think that's another kind of very important element.
I think with greater participation in meetings with the city, in calling for ministers and other powerful politicians to sit with them, I think you'll find that people become more confident in the way in which they engage with powerful structures.
And these best bets are incredible because they speak to the lived reality of how millions of South Africans exist on a day-to-day basis. But our vision should be to get beyond this. If Because if we can get beyond these, then we know that we can take our society to a better place. We know that people will be living better, and that we won't have to endure these disasters on a regular basis.
It means a great deal to me just to be part of something this amazing. When change do come about, I can feel proud and say I was part of that change.